Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room,
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby, and I'm live on YouTube, and Rumble just heard this intro twice, and I feel silly for even doing it twice. I shouldn't have even done it twice. I should have just said hello to the people here, because I've been talking for like 20 minutes. Nobody cares about the Anchor Baby. You know, he's got to watch out for himself, you know, and he can't do that. So, and he's not watching chat, but I'm trying to talk about the beginning of my show here, not pay attention to the chat. 20 minutes later, it's like, hey, Nick, you're not live on YouTube. So, you know, at least Hake cares about the Anchor Baby a little bit. And he came in and let me know. But, you know, people, they'll go late, whatever. Who cares about the Anchor Baby? But we are here live on YouTube. It's a pleasure to have you here. I said thank you. I said a beautiful thank you to Liesel already. I got into what I wanted to get into here. So let me start again. Let me just reset here because I got a bit of a show for you, and I'm excited to present it. It's a pleasure to be back. I'd be remiss if we didn't get it all to my viewers here on YouTube. Nick, pay attention to us. I do. I swear I pay attention to you. I swear. Nick, American Anchor Baby, nice to know 20 minutes can go by and not notice how we aren't there. They know more people than notice. Folks, I'm here, American Anchor Baby. It's a pleasure to be here. 888-775-3773. If there's something on your mind, something you want to get off your chest. The things I want to get into today, I mentioned, I was already getting into the plane crash, okay? And there's a plane crash, you heard about it, and the planes are falling, and they're saying, like it was, I already did all this. The planes are falling, and they're saying, it's like the gates of hell are open. Is what I was saying. The gates of hell are open, and it's all dressed up, all nice and cuddly, like we're doing the right thing. We're just loving all people. We're caring for the least of us. Don't you know these people were oppressed? So now we got to upend society for it. And the planes, they're falling from the sky, right? The planes are falling from the sky. I do want to get into a couple of other things. This antisemitism and Trump, a little bit of news that came out. And there's, so like, what is it? What's it about? Like, free speech, antisemitism can both exist. I want to get into a couple of things here. And maybe even a little bit about Tourette syndrome. I was berating you and you couldn't hear me before. I was saying, I bet you a bunch of people in my chat have Tourette's. Considering all the stuff they say sometimes. But look, I'm here, you're here, rumble.com/American Anchor Baby, dlive.tv/Gorgonzola, punchy.tv/Anchor Baby. It's crazy because it said I was all connected, it's all good, all green check marks, I'm talking to the people, but I wasn't this whole time. Look, let me get back to what I was talking about. Because I was in the middle of talking about the planes, they're falling from the sky. And, you know, people were saying, people were predicting this a little bit. They're predicting this a little bit. There were a bunch of near misses. then he would say that this was bound to happen, okay? And I'm sure by now you know about the crash. I showed the footage and all that, and I honestly am just going to move on. We're just going to move on, but you saw it. Look, the crash happened. It was a Black Hawk helicopter, American Airlines, a little jet, a regional jet. And so where I was it, people are wondering if it was intentional. Hold on. I got to slow down. Hold on. Because I said essential things. And now I'm lost. I said essential things for the show already, and I want to skip them, but actually they're essential. All right, we're going to just talk about this. Look, was it intentional? People are wondering, DEI, what is it? Is it intentional? I don't know, because people are quick to, with their questions. This was conspiracy. Who was on that plane? We'll let them say that. I don't know. But here's Trump. He's saying the airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It was a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do? Instead of asking what if they saw the plane, this is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented. Not good. Many say it could have been prevented. So what was it? There are reports that the helicopter was in the middle of a training exercise. I've played for Rumble, for our Rumble viewers, I played some of that air traffic controller audio, and they had a visual on this plane. They had a visual on the CRJ. That being said, it happened, okay? That's how it went down. DEI, what was it? Will we know? I don't know. But even if it was a training thing, like, it could still be the same vibe, right? DEI and all that. So we just had a midair. The pilot of the Hawker is heard saying in an audio recording, which, and someone in the control tower responds saying, what? So early reports, it seems, at least from the New York Times, it seems, at least from these early reports, that the air traffic controller, at least it was blamed by somebody, by the Hawker pilot. That's how New York Times writes it. We just had a midair, the pilot of the Hawker is heard. Someone in the control tower responds by saying, say what? You guys cleared somebody to take off or land, and we hit them on a departure, the Hawker pilot says. So even after such a fiery crash, for our Rumble viewers who saw the footage, we're going to move on. You saw the fiery crash. It seems like the Hawker pilot was able to say this, and they're saying no survivors from the jet. I don't know any deets about the helicopter, but that's early reports to New York Times. You guys cleared somebody to take off or land, and we hit them on a departure. And that's a little bit of that, right? Intentional DEI, what's going on here? I'm sure you can gather. For anyone that has common sense, like Donald Trump, he said he had common sense. He questioned the role of the helicopter pilot, air traffic control. He faulted Joe Biden as he injected politics into his crash response. In response to a question on why he believes DEI is responsible, Trump said, because I have common sense. Fortunately, a lot of people don't. We want brilliant people doing this. And that's pretty clear, right? A little common sense will tell you that making the priority for an aviation industry, for example, anything but flying planes professionally and safely, will make the professionalism and safety of that industry fall because it is not the most important. Wronging racial grievances and past grievances and stuff have become the modus operandi for institutions and stuff that have nothing to do with that. But they'll inject it in. They'll find some way to academically tell you, don't you know, black people, they disproportionately get mistreated or don't get to fly or whatever, suffer from aviation racism. He has common sense, he says. And so Yeah, people are like, what the heck? Who was on that plane? Early reports, some athletes, several members of the figure skating community. Is this a big figure skating community job? Who are the big players in the figure skating community? I'm just running wild with jokes of conspiracy. And I'll leave that for the wait and see, huh? Returning from a developmental camp in Wichita, U.S. Figure Skating said. Skating Club of Boston named 6 victims. 1994 world champs. So that's a little bit of the deets with the plane and all that. Terrible stuff. People have been saying near misses. It's just a matter of time for major aviation accidents. And they've already happened, to be quite honest. But this is kind of like in America, in D.C., the 747 MAX, that's like over 500 dead, 2 planes. So they've already been kind of happening. So moving on here a little bit, did you know that it was multiple planes in one day? It wasn't just that plane over in over there flying out of, landing into DCA. There was actually multiple planes. Multiple aviation accidents yesterday. 3 of them. 3 separate plane crashes in one day. One involving the U.S. passenger plane, the Potomac River crash. You know about that one. A military aircraft. We had some issues with this military aircraft. Apparently, this was also a training situation. So there you go. Here's how training situations might go for you sometimes, and maybe more and more, more and more, as there's some changes in the military, changes in the populace of America. So maybe this is, sometimes training situations can go like this. That looks expensive. And I think the person ejected, as you can see, that looks like a little parachute. U.S. Air Force pilot Colonel Paul Townsend, commander of the 354th Fighter Wing, crashed his single-seat F-35 fighter jet. It was an in-flight malfunction. Oh, no. So, yeah, looking very expensive. That's your taxes. Look at all those taxes. Amazing. So, that's terrible. And one more. A small plane crash. That's in California. Santa Barbara. Dozens of emergency crews are on the scene in Santa Barbara. Small private plane reportedly crashed and burst into flames. 2 people were on board. Rescuers confirmed both sustained major injuries. That's incredible you could survive something like that, if that's what I'm gathering from this. Just injuries, no deceased. The cause of how the crash happened is not known and will be under investigation. How high and how fast was this plane going? Because there's another plane that went into a side of like a little hill like that too. And it famously disintegrated into the ground, leaving nothing but a scar into the ground. I think that was like the 9/11 attacks. I don't know which plane that was, but here's this plane, small passenger plane. One of a small private plane. Whoa, this person was playing rap music. Okay, we're gonna turn that down. Little background, little vibes for the crash. But yeah, looking pretty fiery, looking pretty nasty. Private plane. 3 of them. Now this one's a little bit more common. You'd be surprised. The private planes, the little plane stuff. Yeah, they get significantly more crashes than commercial jets, regional jets. It can get pretty nasty. It's significant. I know that it's significant. I think I even had some numbers for you for those interested. But it can be pretty dangerous. 2023, 1,277 accidents involving private civilian aircraft, 358 fatalities. That's 1 year. And that's all like general aviation, small aircraft operations, people training, non-commercial fixed-wing aircrafts. It can get. It's not an easy. It's how do I put it? It's a dance, a delicate dance at times. Keeping a plane like that up in the air, right? You got to be on it at multiple levels, and you got to be on it from when you take off all the way till you land. But 3 separate plane crashes. You remember all those close calls they talked about? All these close calls, air traffic controllers. Jesse's impression is just land right over there, baby. They made a mistake. They may have not even spoken like that, but it was bad. Land on 18 left. I'm remembering the one in Texas. And he told someone else to take off on the same runway. Almost turned into, like, that would be destruction. You understand? So what did the first female administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration do? You know, they had their first female in 1997. 1997, the first female administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration, Jane Garvey. Jane Garvey. What did she do? She got in there. She's like, I'm the first female. I'm going to make it happen. And you know what I'm going to do? Soon as she got in, investigations for sexual harassment. And you know, when I look into it, I can't find any specific cases. That's just in my research. Like, I wanted, like, deets. Like, what was happening with the FAA? What did they see? And all I get is pamphlets on, just a general don't sexually harass, against sexual harassment training, and a real stress on a hostile work environment. Now, maybe there was. In fact, maybe there was. Maybe there was some groping. Maybe there was some nasty stuff. And she investigated it. But like I said, that's just my cursory look. I found a great stress to this idea of a hostile work environment. Can you see now how, you hear people talk about hostile work environments today, toxic masculinity. That's really just a stone's throw away. When people were talking about a hostile work environment to the women, remember when the BuzzFeed ladies were coming out saying that AC in the office is sexist? Yeah. So that's what comes to my mind when I see these reports in the early 2000s with Jane Garvey about a hostile work environment that she had to deal with. I wonder if that's just the sensibilities of women. Look, that's what Jane Garvey did. Maybe she did great work. Maybe there's some real problems. I couldn't help but notice how, in just a cursory look, let's see who changed the FAA. When did it change? When did the mentalities change and philosophies change on what's important for the FAA? And I'm going back. I didn't have to go too that far. I get to Jane Garvey, and it's like, it seems like a common case. A woman or someone angry and told that they are a minority or oppressed or something, or someone else is the source of your problems, goes in and may even be competent and may even be good at something, but they can't get past this identity, this identity, and it leads their behavior, and it's the motivation behind what they do. You would think even if Jane Garvey was great at what she did, that she would still keep aviation number one, not bringing women in. That was also another thing, if I didn't mention, being the first female administrator for the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. She made it a big thing on hiring women. We got to bring up hiring women. Isn't this proof? Like, further proof. I love bringing you little proofs to add to it. I'm trying to tell you. Jesse was right. Anyone with an identity has anger and can't be trusted. Because it's like, you could be great and all that, but the moment your identity is challenged, anyone who's challenging that is an enemy. You understand that? Because the assumption in the charge is the hatred of women. So you got to undo that. And that's not even your job there. So DEI, the gates of hell, I couldn't help but also notice how it's like, dang, the women are integral to this. I mean, I'm just telling you about Jane Garvey. I'm sure there's plenty of men, and they're and whatever they did in the FAA, for example. But I'm like, my first example, Jane Garvey, it's like, time and time again, women are literally the targets of brainwashing and societal control. You got to get them first. You got to, if you look into it a little bit, shall I pull it up? Research indicates. The research indicates that women love DEI, okay? Do you need, can you just observe for yourself a little bit? The factoids are for some of you fence sitters and intellectuals. You could call me if you think I'm wrong, 888-775-3773. But for the rest of us, we can see this is obvious, right? But research indicates the women are generally, they're supportive of the DEI. They love it, okay? They vote. Just look at how they vote. Keeping it simple, just how they vote. But the research indicates, and that's from McKinsey. Women in the Workplace Report, McKinsey & Company, if you wanted to know. Philanthropy Indianapolis, the University of Indianapolis. The women love the DEI, okay? They love being charitable. They love charitable giving. Study shows that women are more likely to donate. Empathic concern. They're just so empathetic. But this empathy is actually pure hell. It's not even love. It's not even good intentions, if you remember any recent episodes. Or if you get it at all, it's not even good intentions. It's purely selfish. It's how do I make myself feel and seem like a better person? Absolve myself of any negative feelings or any negative thoughts of myself and prove to myself that I am a good person. It's totally selfish. And built on a lie, the lie being anger, that someone else is the source of your problems, that someone else is your world. You know, I'm thinking about advertising. Significant portion of advertising is directed towards women. Girlpowermarketing.com. Let the girls at Girl Power tell you. 91% of new home purchases. 66% of PC and consumer electronics purchases. 92% of vacation planning. New car purchases. I can go on and on. But you got to propagandize the ladies. What a national security concern. Women's vote. But anyways, that's the planes. They're falling out of the sky. And anyone with common sense can understand that even if this particular case is not even at all the some of the concerns that people have, that it's a huge problem, okay? So the gates of hell. Oh yeah, that's another point. The gates of hell coming to the women. In this case, we'll keep going here. We'll see what comes next here in today's show. But I got something else I want to talk to you about. I want to move it on here. Let's see here. Multiple planes. That's the plane stuff. And I want to move it on here because the planes, they're falling. I want to switch gears and move on. I do want to thank Liesel once more. People heard me on Rumble. But Liesel, if you're still here, can you hear me? Did you leave? I wanted to thank you for your super generous donation. Liesel, very, very generous. As a super chat says, Nick, thank you again for your help. I just wanted to repeat what I was telling you, Liesel. Just passing along the info. Your thanks is appreciated and welcomed. You're welcome. Just passing along info, passing along the message. I hope something made sense, something helped. But thank you, Liesel. Maybe back it up. Maybe back up the Rumble stream, and let me know what you think. Because I was talking about you earlier. Barely anything. But what else? DJ 2020, thank you for letting me know my YouTube stream wasn't going. It's nice to see you in the Rumble chat. Nice to see you guys, DLive.tv, and all the supporters. Appreciate all the super chats and all that. I want to thank Brandon here. Hold on. We got a coffee. Buymeacoffee.com/anchorbaby. A coffee from Brandon. Thank you for that. Says, I heard this past week that there is a study correlating language and gender dysphoria. For example, in English, Christians can be male or female, but in French, Christian, male, and Christienne, female, reinforces gender. Let me know what you think. I heard this past week there's a study. Language. You think, oh, so because English doesn't have masculin and ou féminin, that's why people are trans. Their language is trans. Their language is gender dysphoric. I'd say if that has at all any psychological influence, I would venture to bet that it's very minimal, honestly. If there's something, and not to say that language and repetition doesn't have this hypnotizing effect, of course not. That's absolutely true. But I don't think it's the lack of masculine or feminine in English. It's just like made up Satan words like, I don't know, like gender dysphoria. Hey, here you are using them, Brandon. Like gender. Isn't that also one of these brainwashing new modern academic words? It's just your sex. You're either male or female. There's no gender. You get it. Civil rights. So you get it, right? But yeah, Christian and Christienne. It's like, what else? Yeah, that's the masculine, feminine in those romantic languages. But I appreciate the Germanic roots of English. Very solid. What else about that? Brandon. And of course, the female spirit. The influence of the mother, which is a secret, one of the best kept secrets. There's like no awareness at all on the mother's influence in the home. She's just like blanket mom. That's just mom. She's just like a wall. It's just a wall in people's minds. Just that's mom. No investigation. No need to like look at that at all. That's just perfect. And that wall has hidden quite a bit. That's hidden quite a bit. Like how these transgenders have their mom's spirit. How gays and how men really. That's just. It's funny if you think about it like that, right? Because it doesn't make gay or transgender this foreign thing. It's really just the same fallen state path of even someone of even like a straight person or whatever. You could see how someone, should they believe lies, be angry enough, be lied to, and angry people love lies. They're waiting to hear lies. You can see how it's all on the same, they're on the same road. They're on the same path here. So anyways, whatever, what else? So yeah, that female spirit, these trans people, they really are spiritually female, in a sense. What else? Thank you for the super chats and the support. Thanks for the coffees. buymeacoffee.com/anchor, baby. Now, what else here? Let's move it on here. I came across this video which Elon Musk was praising. He's saying this person is right. And I want to play this for you here. It seems like, what, social media influencer type guy? I don't know how to pronounce this name. Phidias? Elon Musk is saying Phidias is right. Now, what is Phidias right about? And it caught my attention here. What is Phidias talking about? Let's listen. And what Elon Musk praised. Let's listen to Phidias.
I just found a revolutionary idea on how to fix democracy by the famous Milton Friedman, the economist.
People have a great misconception in this way. They think the way you solve things is by electing the right people. It's nice to elect the right people, but that isn't the way you solve things. The way you solve things is by making it politically profitable for the wrong people to do the right thing.
What do you guys think about Milton Friedman? I mean, I've on X and stuff, I see criticisms. In fact, over the years, I've heard all sorts of, early on, I'd hear about the free market, for example, which I hear Milton Friedman was a big proponent of. The free market. The free market orders itself. It's freedom. It's in the name, free market. It's freedom. This is what I gather, right, from this concept of free market. That the people are free. The people are free to order themselves, and when the people are free to order themselves, incentives, even though people are, it doesn't deny that people are evil, that human nature is evil, but the incentives in a free market align with growth, an individual's wealth. You understand what I'm saying here? These are the concepts that I gather from this free market, right? That you can have incentives. Maybe you can even have an evil free market, I don't know. But this is what I gather, that in a free market, selfish people are still empowered to help each other and be a net positive for a society, because the only way to empower and help yourself is by providing a service, providing something positive for those around you, something that other people need. So even a selfish person, it has to be, it's just too politically and even otherwise profitable to act in the right way for one to be wrong. That's what I gather from this whole thing. And so Milton Friedman is essentially saying that, you don't solve things by electing the right people. You solve it by making it politically profitable for the wrong people, no matter even if they're wrong, to do the right thing. And I found this interesting. Is he really, don't the right people have to do what you said, though, Milton Friedman? And I know I'm just being a bit of a stickler. That's the only little nitpick, Milton Friedman. That's the only little nitpick, because it makes sense, right? Don't the right people have to be picked here? But that's just me being a little bit of a stickler. So Fidias, this guy in this video, talking about Milton Friedman, he's saying he found found a revolutionary idea on how to fix democracy. He plays the Milton Friedman clip, and then he goes on here. Let's listen to Fidias.
Thing.
And today, for the first time in history, this idea with the power of social media is actually possible. Social media lets all citizens to raise our voices and put pressure on politicians like never before. When enough people care about one topic, politicians are forced to listen like never before, because their survival depends on public opinion. So it's not just about who we vote for, it's about holding them accountable every single day. And all of a sudden, not politicians are governing over the citizens, it's the other way around. But what do you think? Do you agree with the idea that society needs to change first? Let me know in the comments below.
Now, I don't know what he means, that society needs to change first before what? I'm a little unclear on some of the things here. And when you see this little motion with his hands, where the people are now above the politicians, I mean, it does invoke in my mind what I heard about the American government. A government by the people, for the people, right? And so those things cross my mind, to be fair. But is this Fidias guy even really responding to Milton Friedman, or is he talking about something totally different? Like, I guess he is sort of talking about what Milton Friedman's talking about, a collected voice online that's collected enough and loud enough, and it will change the survival conditions of a politician, right? Because now it's politically profitable, like Milton Friedman said, to support what the people are saying, or else he's not going to get elected, right? So I guess Fidias is, in a sense, talking about what Milton Friedman is talking about. I have some reservations, though. I have some reservations on the deets here, where social media, with enough power, all this power going to the citizens in history. It's the first time in history that all these people can yell on social media and just force politicians to do what they want.
With the power of social media, it's actually possible. Social media lets all citizens to raise our voices and put pressure on politicians like never before. When enough people care about one topic, politicians are forced to listen.
And that's not necessarily bad. And I'm sure that's what Elon Musk supports. He's like, Fidias is right. And it's a little like flex for X, it's like, and you could do this on X, and X has proven itself to be, I think, and even Twitter, to be honest, but X has proven itself to be like that. better than Twitter, in my opinion. And so, yeah, you can show a lot of attention to one topic, put pressure on politicians. But I have some reservation. I have a little bit of a reservation. Like he took what Milton Friedman said, and then said, and that's why mob rule is awesome. Is that how you guys are taking it, or am I just like a little wannabe aristocrat? Am I a little wannabe aristocrat? Hey, you know, the masses of people, you know, the public, the common man, the little guy, they can turn into a terrorist too. Like, am I just a little wannabe aristocrat or something like that? Or are you guys getting me a little bit? Like, that's not necessarily good, mob rule. Like, we're just going to get all together and just, like, have you seen, like, when the common man is given the reins of the reins of a society, they don't necessarily do a better job than the rulers. Not to say the rulers are moral and great and there aren't questions to be had, but when you just do a flip like that, and that is my impression of history. Maybe I'm even wrong about that. Maybe that's not what happened with these communist countries. Maybe the flip of power given to the people, even that's a lie, really. It really was maintained in a small group, even in those cases. But at least on its face, that's what it was billed as. And it doesn't seem like a good thing, you know? Even the common man can be a terrorist, like, wrong. You know, it's like, yeah, the kings are bad, but then you give it to the people and they'll ruin it too. It's human history. It's more than that. It's human nature. It's a pattern. You know, if it's not enough to dominate and rule. Like, that's just not how people work. Alpha, beta. When people think alpha and beta, they think animals. And yeah, people are animals, but it's not all alpha, dominance, aggression. And to be honest, this exists in the animal world too, but there's social capital. There's earning trust. A king wasn't allowed to just, if a king was crazy enough, they'd be executed. There would be a revolt by the people. You understand? So, and this is a pattern over and over and over and over and over again. So going back to Milton Friedman about making it politically profitable for even the wrong people to do the right thing, I think there might be better examples of that. I got to go to Trump here. You know, he's shown quite a talent for aligning interests. You know what I mean? Like making it too costly to go against him, for example. Too costly to go against him. And then part of that is the fact that he has such a mandate. So many people support him. So that itself is an example. The people who support him so strongly, it'd just be too costly for Republicans to go against him. So now that's one example. I mean, just Trump's takeover of the GOP itself. They hated him. They would deride him. They'd see him as silly. He'd never run anything, and now they all got to kiss up to him. And he's reshaped the GOP in some cases, you know. Trade. On trade, the Republican Party, speaking of Milton Friedman, they're the champions of NAFTA, the champions of the of the WTO agreements, which is what? Globalism, global free trade, the free market of the world, not just America. So what does that mean? Not America first. And that's the Republicans for you. That's who the Republicans for before Trump. Trump comes in and he's like, tariffs on China. Renegotiate NAFTA. Now it's like the USMCA. Free trade deals that are bad for America. Nope, we're changing that up. And what the Republicans do, what did the GOP do? Even with all the donors, even with all the money, they're like, I guess we're this now. And so there they are, these rhinos, whatever, supporting the right thing. It is now making it too politically profitable to do the right thing. And so that's a little bit on that, right? Some examples of Milton Friedman there. But even like liberal, like for example, take in the Jews. And I love the Jews. I love the Jews. I'm taking that from Jesse, but it's so good. How can people get mad at that? Like, oh God, this guy loves the Jews. Yeah, get used to it. The Jews, they're liberals. You got to understand this about the Jews. They're liberals, overwhelming. And so they don't get it. They don't get it. They don't, in many cases, in the individual and the higher up levels, you'll say, they align with this original sin of America, this racist, that you need diversity, etc. But yet, I think on that's another one of these examples, I think, that he aligned the incentives that even the populace, still Jewish liberals, they still voted Kamala. But that being said, he got way more votes than ever. The Orthodox community, big money, Miriam Adelson. So he was able to align this interest so much so that even liberal, neutral Jewish groups, they had to acknowledge Trump's impact. You understand? So when you take this in, you got to take in you got to take in what's been in charge for a moment. If not even this particular individual, and this is Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, even if not this particular individual, take in the mentality and spirit of what has been in charge. And here he's being asked about how this illegal alien in 24 hours was dealt with, something they couldn't do for years. Watch this.
Tom Homan showed up in Chicago and within 24 hours found a convicted sex offender who has been living in our city since 2009, flouting the sex offender registry. If he can do this, why can't you?
Because that's their job. That is their job. The federal
Their
government
job's not to keep the people of Chicago.
That's their job. It's not my job. That's their job. You take it in the situation, right? In 24 hours, they found a criminal illegal alien, convicted sex offender, living there since 2009. They're like, oh, it's just difficult. It's just, we're working on it. We're going to work on it. We're going to do it right. We're apportioning the proper resources. We have the proper teams. You've heard all this, right? We have the proper teams. We now have an action plan, and our action plan will include blah, 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 blah. 2009, 24 hours, this man comes in, Tom Homan, is like, oh, this guy shouldn't be here, deports him. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, what does he have to say about it? That wasn't my job.
That individuals who are undocumented, who have been charged with, convicted of a crime, it is the federal government's responsibility to do their part and uphold the law. Our local police department, along with our public health department, along with our other sister agencies, are working to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. And as we've stated repeatedly, those critical investments, you continue to see the results of those investments as violent crime continues to fall in Chicago. Thank you very much.
So yeah, I'm showing you this clip because I want you to take in the order. This is my impression. There's all these things happening now. Not only Brandon Johnson, but the border. There was this graph somewhere, and I wish I had it. And it shows like the years and years of immigration. It's all like this. It's all like this. All these illegals are up here. And then Trump comes in, and it all the way down to like 90%. I wish I could find that graph. And all the comments are like, you're telling me this could have all been done in like a number of days? You're telling me that all this stuff with the illegals and all this stuff, Democrats, Republicans, both with promises and plans for decades, that in a matter of days, it could have been handled? All this time since 2009 and further. Look, this is just Chicago. For decades, this could all have been dealt with in a number of days. And I'm not going to say that everything is totally fixed, but you when you see the graphs, when you see the 90% of illegals and border crossings going down, you're like, this could have all been done a long time ago. you realize the only thing in the way is politics. It seems to me, I get this impression like this faction, some sort of faction in our government has finally taken a bit of a back seat. Is that fair to say? What do you guys think? What's your impression? It seems to me like this faction in the government has finally taken a back seat where Trump can even operate to this level thanks to this receding of this faction. Doesn't it feel like that? And with Trump and the people he's bringing in, taking the reins, and it feels like they're fully on taking the reins. Do you see what I'm getting at here? All I'm getting at is there seems to have been a faction, there's a receding faction, and this receding faction, their mentality is just like Brandon Johnson in this video. So when you realize that the only thing in the way was politics, and that politics had to change, factions, allegiances, money, and deals had to be made and had to happen for Trump to be doing what he's doing now. Are you at least putting that together? If politics is the only thing in the way, if all these good things could have been done, if only there was the political will for it to happen, then something happened, then something changed in the world of politics and American politics where allegiances, deals, etc. Something had to have happened for that politics to now be out of the way and all this to be happening. You taking that in? So, describing this power structure a bit, it brings me to, let's get into something else here. 888-775-3773. If there's something you want. Angband Art with a super chat says, Orthodox and many Reform Jews are conservative. Right, that if you get into different groups and split them up, yeah, it changes up. There might be there seems to be diversity amongst the Jews. They like that diversity, don't they? They mix with everybody. That's another impression of mine. But there seems to be Jews of all kinds. Mexican Jews, Latino Jews, European Jews, and which is interesting. Might be kind of cool. I'm not saying it's good or bad. What was I saying? What was I saying here? So Trump making it politically positive for the wrong people to act. And I was describing this seeming change in politics. Something has moved out of the way. And can we gather anything other than Trump and his deals and his politics? Can we say anything other than Trump was the source of this? I don't think so. I think he's made all sorts of moves and alliances. And I want to describe I want to describe my thinking on that because this topic came to mind when someone showed me this recent bit of news. And I see calls coming in. Thank you. 888-775-3773. Let me get to calls right after this part right here. So they're saying Trump will deport everyone who is against Jewish supremacy. Really? Megatron on X is reporting Trump will deport everyone who is against Jewish supremacy. You get into the news. It's not that. It's Trump orders a crackdown on anti-Semitism, and it could deport foreign student protesters. And that's a bit of the news. An executive order signed Wednesday by President Trump outlines a broad federal crackdown on the explosion of anti-Semitism in the U.S., especially on college campuses. He says he'll cancel the visas of foreign students who are Hamas sympathizers and deport pro-jihadist protesters. Nice. I don't want them here. They don't belong here. And so that's the crackdown. And it's got people, there's some concerns over this because it's a crackdown on anti-Semitism. What is this? This doesn't necessarily align with free speech, some say, right? And I with those criticisms, I agree. Anti-Semitism is not a good description at all to get to any truth, to get to any understanding. Anti-Semitism is just a word to say, it's a shutdown word. It's a word that shuts down conversation, shuts down any conversation, any thought, and you have to now acquiesce to the person charging you. It's like people saying that you're racist. Now you try and disagree or fight that. Now you're now not talking about anything real. How can you prove to someone who already has judged you that you're not a racist? Anti-Semitism, so you could see someone's heart. It's really a terrible word to describe anything. It doesn't get at anything. It doesn't help. And how can you believe in God and believe in anti-Semitism? You know, like, you can't, here's another thing. You can't protect free speech and anti-Semitism. You can't do both. You just simply can't. I'll agree with y'all on that. You can't. They don't fit. Free speech should even protect so-called anti-Semitism. Okay? So I'll say that. You know, I'm going back to that Jewish supremacy tweet just real quick. Trump will deport everyone who's against Jewish supremacy. It's a little bit interesting to see people throwing around terms. And how do I put this? It's like, let's say you had a black person talking about white supremacy. Wouldn't that tell you a lot? Wouldn't that tell you a lot about that person? That they would use such a term and say that something like white supremacy exists? That tells you this person sees themselves has believed whatever lies they heard about being less than others. They believe this. They think they're less than others. They think they're less than white people. They believe whites are supreme and they were evil and all this stuff. So, so it's interesting to see people use these terms, Jewish supremacy. You know, it's one thing to say, well, I don't know. It's one thing to say that, I don't know, there's this sort of influence over here in this institution or et cetera, X, Y, Z. It's another thing to say, it's another thing to come out against Jewish supremacy. I think it says a lot about a person. It reveals a little bit of their weakness, don't you think? But I'm going to continue here. Anti-Semitism, you know, free speech, anti-Semitism, antithetical. And it's like, man, doesn't this also show the Jews don't know God? Because you have to believe in anti-Semitism. It's like believing in racism. It means you think you know the heart of others, and you're judging. And it's like the Jews, they don't like the Catholics and the Muslims don't like the Jews and the Christians don't like, or the Catholics and some Christians. I hear evangelicals, for example, love Israel. But anyways, they don't like each other. So it's like, how can any of those people believe in God when they hate each other? Anti-Semitism, being part of that. You don't get, like I said, even the Catholics, they're not free from this. They hate the other religions too. Some. So the Jews, they're not free from this. It's like anybody hating like that doesn't know God. You just can't. But this brings me to this topic does bring up a bit of a can of worms that's been passed around in these past, ever since, really since 2016, to be honest. But I've only become, like, it's only be crescendoed to a point where it's unignorable, I guess, all this internal conflict with Trump, and is he captured, owned by the Jews? What's going on here? Is he captured? What the heck? How can he be okay with anti-Semitism? So he's big time friends with the Jews. And look, I've heard some of the info. How do I put this clearly and how I see it? Because I've heard some of the theories and info. But look at the money he's getting from Miriam Adelson. Look, they put the embassy in Israel. They put in Jerusalem. Trump supported the Golan Heights, and he's like, and he took out the two-state solution thing from somewhere. This guy is so supportive of the Jews. He's gonna put all Americans into a war with Iran. And I've heard this over time. I noticed the anger of some. And how they blame the Jews for their problems. And I'm like, okay, that's silly. I've heard some of the interesting factoids about foreign aid and politics, and I'm like, okay, well, greatest ally. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't seem like anybody's a greatest ally. It's just ongoing politics and stories and human interaction. It's okay. I'm like watching. I'm having a wait and see attitude. And then it finally kind of hit me. Like, you don't think Trump knows about war with Iran? Like, you don't think he knows about, for example, Israel's motives and agenda? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm realizing that, how do I put this? It's like he even said, he's like, Israel used to own Congress or something like that. He said something to that effect. And I'm thinking here, I'm realizing, wow, you don't think he knows about all that? Or at least a lot of it? It's like, I'm realizing it's just a bunch of young guys reacting to this info, something that has been known for decades, Israel's influence in America. It's like, yeah, that happens with others. And it's just a bunch of, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if my impression's wrong here. 888-775-3773. It's like they learn this information about Israel, and they're like, oh my gosh, Trump is captured. And it's like, people like Trump and older guys have been knowing about this. And it's just as likely that Trump is going in there that he's made deals and he's aligned with certain factions because that's just what had to happen. He just had to, that's the only way he could do what he's doing now with the help of the Jews. And even if they're not necessarily America first and totally aligned, Trump has made those calculations. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you're really, really smart and you know more than I do. I don't know. But, you see what I'm getting at? It's like, you don't think he knows about war with Iran and all that? So you know what, Trump? I don't know, ish. But he how do I summarize what I'm trying to say? It's like the vibe being put out by the questioners of Israel has been that they're hiding, that Trump has no idea, and we know this information that others aren't, that people have no clue about, and we're just way smarter, and it's not. There's no chance Trump is like calculating, making deals. He's owned. I think he's making deals. I think it's just as likely. You see what I'm getting at here a little bit, please? And it seems like, at least in the government, free speech has to, these are the deals being made. Free speech has to take a bit of a hit. It doesn't have to with you and I, the individual. You think the government is the one who gives you free speech and gives you that right and freedom? Like, yeah, the government should protect it. It should be in the laws and all that, but hey, if free speech has to take a bit of a hit, like give away to anti-Semitism a little bit in the government and deport Hamas sympathizers in campuses, which I have no problem with, then so be it. Call me whatever you want. It's just like, I'm not letting go of free speech. I don't need the government to tell me I don't need the government for me to protect free speech, to be a free man talking. Like, I don't even need Trump for that, in a sense. We require of our government to protect it so that we don't get sent to jail, for example. But you understand what I'm saying here? Like, that doesn't even necessarily mean, well, Trump doesn't even care about free speech. Like, I bet you if it came down to it, like, in America, like, you use your free speech and it goes up against this anti-Semitism, that Trump would be on the side of the American. But now I'm just going into the world of what ifs, and let's come back to earth. Let's anchor ourselves back down. And before we get to our next topic here with Matt Walsh versus foreign aid, there's an interesting little spat about this. I hope you find this interesting. Or we might even skip that. It's not that interesting because I really want to tell you about Tourette's. Before we do any of that, though, we need to get to Terry. We need to get to Terry, who's on the air with us. How you doing, Terry?
Hi, I'm all right. How you doing?
All is well. All is well.
So I called about the transgenders having a female spirit.
Ah, okay.
Because yesterday I said something in the chat you responded to.
I sort of remember.
Yeah, I said something like they don't understand what it's like to be female or how it feels. That's what I said. They don't know what it feels like to be female. But you took the opposite opinion.
I would say I think they know how females feel, but you're saying they don't. So how do females feel? How do women feel, Terry?
Well, for one, it's not a universal experience, even amongst females. So that is why it's difficult to say that you understand what it feels like to be a woman, because women have different feelings about womanhood, even within the group. But I just think it's presumptuous.
Right, and this is just another one of those feelings. This is just a different feeling of their womanhood.
They don't have a womanhood.
Right. But you're saying all these women that you're aware of, it's not a model. We all have different feelings of our womanhood. And yeah, I agree. This is another one of those feelings about womanhood. Except it's in a man. A biological male.
Yeah. So how does a man... Okay, let me just put this reversed, just logically. Do you think I understand what it's like, what it feels like to be a man?
Yeah. We know how each other feels. We know. Here, I'll try and break it down. I'll try and cut through my thinking in words.
Feelings that everyone has.
Right. I'm gonna cut.
It's not about that. It's about how it feels to be male or female. Do you think somebody who does not? Do you think I know what it feels like to be a man?
Yeah.
Not do I understand how a man might feel in different ways?
No. You know how men feel.
How does he feel about his body, his life, his experience?
Well, now you're adding to it. I didn't say any of that. I didn't say this transgender knows how a woman feels about. I didn't say this transgender knows how they feel about their experience and blah, blah. Now you're adding to it. It's like, and that would go down a different path because I was like, what the heck does that even mean?
This is what I'm responding to, and this is what the trans people are claiming. And they claim that they understand how it feels to be a member of the opposite sex.
May I?
It's your show. You go on.
No. I just don't want to interrupt. But you're saying that you made this distinction of knowing how someone feels about their body and their other things, right? But what is all that? Isn't that just simply what you think about your body? I just want to deal with this little distinction first, because this distinction makes it somehow separates people. But I want to reveal how doesn't make sense. All you're describing is what you think about your body, what you think about your job, think about having female parts. Is that what you mean by how one feels about their womanhood?
I'm talking about how it feels to be in the body of a female.
Yes, and I want to get to the core of that.
Or how to be in the body of a male.
And I'm trying to get to the core of that, because when you say how it feels to be in the body of a woman, isn't that just simply what you think about your body?
I don't think so. Not entirely, no.
And tell me how it's different.
Well, feelings and thoughts are a little bit different.
Okay, go ahead.
you ever notice when you're thinking, you can have feelings flood you, but they're two separate things. Feelings are literally sensations that are happening in your body.
Right, and you're thinking about those sensations.
Well, this is the thing. People are in their heads and they're thinking that they understand.
But how is
How
is a woman?
sensations they're having is, somehow equivalent to what it means for a woman or, to be a man when they're not that.
Right. So I'm trying to get at what it means to feel about your body. How is that different than what you think about your body? You understand what I'm getting at? Because
no, I'm not.
How Terry feels about
what I think about my body and what I feel in my body are two different things.
Okay, tell me how they're different again.
Okay, let's say, I don't know, if I have sensations or I don't want to be vulgar here, but so much of the female experience is physical. I called you once before and talked about that, how women are closer to nature and we have more of an animalistic nature just because of the way we're created and the fact that we're designed to bear young. Our bodies go through fluctuations every, we have these cycles. And I don't want to be crude here, but I think you understand. You have. It's
hard to know exactly what you're talking about. Really, here's two things. Let me try my best. Let me try my best to summarize two clear points you've made. I think.
Okay, so when I'm trying to make
allow me, Terry, because we're not understanding each other.
Physically, it isn't necessary.
Oops. Terry, call me back. I think I did that by accident. No, I didn't mean to do that. Terry, call me back. Yeah, my bad, Terry. Call me back. But the two things I've so far, if you're hearing me, Terry, call me right back. But yeah, so far I'm gathering that she's describing the literal sensations one feels. But how can you know? How can a woman know? How can you know that? How can you know they're... No, Terry, call me back. Call me back. I can't just speak to the air. I need to speak to Terry on this. Terry, is that you?
Yeah.
My bad.
As well, good.
So can I summarize two things I feel like you've said so far? Because I'm not sure what you're saying.
All right.
It sounds like you said that you're trying to say the literal sensations of a female body, like you being in a female body, the way your nerves, the way your physical body takes in sensations themselves is different than a man.
Yep.
And how do you know that? You've never been in the body of a man. How do you know that?
I don't know it, but I know that we have different physiology and our bodies do different things.
But the question is, how do you know the sensations are absolutely different? Which is different than what I was talking about. This is a lot, to be fair, you're talking about the literal sensations. I'm talking about how you think and feel inside. Not like how temperature affects your body, how when I touch this table, how does my skin and my nerve... That's way more basic. And what's funny about that distinction you're making is you don't even know that because you've never been in the body of a man.
No, I think
so you don't even know what you're saying.
I think the physiology is similar in terms of, we both have a nervous system. So the way we feel physical sensations is similar. But again, I don't know how men feel, and I don't presume to know what it feels like to be a man. So,
but don't you think that a so-called man who calls himself transgender does know about feelings and emotions like a woman, like sensation? Your claim is that the physical sensations one feels through their senses of their body are different, and that's a very basic point. It's a lot less of what I was trying to get at. But do you see how you don't even know that? Could you at least agree that you don't know that?
physically different. Are we go through?
But you don't know that
because of it.
You've seen physical differences in a nervous system, for example, but you've never felt that other nervous system. So how do you know?
I don't know. Do y'all have a period?
What's that? That's a different question. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. We're talking about senses. We both have a nervous. We both have the sense of touch, taste, smell.
We are
right?
very different physically. We go through different things.
Nah, you're moving the goalposts, Terry. Now,
I'm not moving the
If you want to now say, if you now want to change what you're saying to where our bodies are structurally different, then of course I'm not going to disagree with you. We can physically see structural differences.
So how can a guy know what it feels like to be in a woman's body?
No, now you see that. Now that's a different thing. I didn't say that a man knows how to be in a woman's body. Terry the stickler. Can we at least wait, hold on. Can we at least throw out all these side conversations and agree that what I'm talking about is how you how you feel emotions, Terry? You know how you feel stuff? And I'm not talking about like your senses, but feelings. Just keep, feelings, right, Terry? You know what feelings are? You remember feelings?
I don't pretend to know what feelings are.
Come on, Terry, you know feelings, right? You felt feelings before? Terry, come on. We're going to pin her down. We're going to pin you down, Terry. Have you ever felt feelings before? Can we in this human experience, is that one thing we both experienced, please?
2013. Not since 2013. But
in this human, okay, one more time. In this human experience, Terry, please, is there one thing we've both experienced, and that is feelings? Please, come on.
I have had feelings.
Thank you. And that is what men know how women feel. That's right. And women know how men feel. I didn't know that you were obsessed on like the senses and being in the physical body. We're talking about the spirit, Terry. Come on.
Yeah, well, you're claiming these guys have a female spirit, and they act very male. There's a palpable difference when a woman interacts with one of these guys, and it's part of what makes it so uncomfortable, because they don't act like other women. It's very apparent the way they move, the way they act, the way they treat you is very masculine and male.
Well,
so they may have feelings. Duh, they have feelings. Everybody has feelings.
Are they the same feelings?
Well, maybe, I don't know. I don't want to make that claim, but like...
Are they the same feelings?
Are they the same feelings?
Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know.
Well, I'm saying they are. You are now saying you don't know. So you now have rescinded your argument against me and are now saying I don't know.
I have not.
You're saying, and leaving the possibility that we might have the same emotions, right?
I will double down on this. I wasn't talking about emotions. I was just making the statement men do not know what it feels like to be a woman.
Without you really even knowing that, huh? Your only evidence is structural difference, right? Your only evidence is physical.
If these guys who pretend to be women knew what it felt like to be female, they would not act the way they do with women.
But they act just like women. What are you talking about?
No, they do not.
Yeah, they do.
Not when it comes to, not in how they interact with women. They may act like women in the sense that they're emotional and like illogical, but that does not mean that they interact with women the way that women interact with women.
And what are you saying with that? When men treat they treat
women like men treat women is what I'm saying.
They treat women like men treat women?
Yeah.
And how's that?
Well, I mean, it's the lack of like spatial awareness, all kinds of things that they get into. They also have no problem like dominating a space when they go into it, like men naturally do. They do not consider, they're not passive in any way like that. They're not like women. They
women do that too.
With women like women do.
Yeah, women do that to other women too.
No, women.
You disagree?
Women have different ways of dominating than men do. It's like I don't even know. Like there's so many little things like to pin down here. Like
pin one down because you're not making sense.
I am making sense. I'm thinking most women who've interacted with these people, especially in like, I don't know, an intimate setting where you usually would only be around other women, will know what I'm talking about. So this is part of why they stand out so much. It's not just how they physically look, it's also the way they act.
Right, and I say they act like women. And women can exhibit some of the things you said. But let's summarize here.
Like men that have a mama spirit.
Fair enough. So let's summarize here. The two main things here is, one, men and women, they have these same emotions and feelings, and they come from these thoughts, and they really are way more aligned than, that's one of the points I was making. And then there's the other argument of the actual body and senses. And so in the first one, you're saying, I don't know, but you're leaving the possibility that we may experience the same feelings. I say we do. And in the second one, we've shown, in the second topic, we've shown that you don't really know that one either, because your evidence is just that bodies are physically different, but you've never experienced the feelings that the senses of the man that you're describing. So they may be exactly the same, right?
I don't think it is. We go through different things physically. I can't relate. I don't look when men talk about themselves, I just don't relate. I don't understand. Like, I understand having feelings and that kind of thing. And I understand at a human level, we go through similar experiences, but like physiologically, I don't understand what it feels like to be a man.
Fair enough. Well, I'm glad.
It's like, to me, it's a nonsensical, illogical thing. And I would never claim that I did.
Well, fair enough. Well, thank you for admitting that you didn't know.
I know. Ugh.
What? I'm using your words, Terry. I'm just listening to you. You said I would never know how a man feels like. Is that what you just said?
Right. And
right. So you're admitting you called in saying, I know a man that you called in saying, one at a time, Terry, please. You called in saying men can you. That's it. You said you called in with affirming the negative, but now you are saying you don't know.
That's the whole point.
Fair enough. Well, thanks for saying that. I'm saying they're the same, but that's your argument. Fair enough. I appreciate it.
Lord have mercy.
No, I'm not trying to trick you. This is just, I'm trying to really take it in.
I don't think you're trying to trick me. I think you're just tricksy in general.
It's not a trick. I'm using your words. You came in, did you not come into the conversation saying that men do not know how women feel? And now you are leaving the conversation saying, I don't, being in my body and the senses I know, I'll never know how a man feels.
I still hold to the belief that they do not know how it feels to be a woman. They may know how we feel in terms of like having feelings, but they don't know how we feel in terms of what it feels like to be a woman. Because I doubt you could even, put two women together and say they feel the same anyway.
Well, I'm glad we were able to evolve in such a short conversation. Now I'm messing with. Now I'm just trying. Now I'm just being funny. But I hear you. No, you've made your point, and I accept it. And I made my point, and I stand where I stand. And very cool.
All right.
Yeah, and thank you. No, thank you.
All right, cool. Well, I'm glad we hashed that out.
All right. Call me again.
I'll see you in the chat.
Bye, Terry.
Bye.
888-775-3773. How can I not be a stickler? She's using language. You know what I'm saying? Maybe she just got nitpicked, but like, I wasn't trying to, I really was trying to have a conversation. And we did, in my opinion. But anyways, how can I not be a stickler? We're using language here. We're saying words with meanings. And I want to move on here. Do transgenders, do they know how women feel? The debate will rage on. We can have it more. Am I she's using language. What? People, I've lost people. I've lost people. It's just sometimes people. It seems like people forget we're using language. I do that all the time. I forget I'm using words with meanings, and I'm like, oh wait, I said that. It's like, yeah, you said that. Gawain's Realm with the super chat says, Nick, explain sensuality. Explain sensuality? What do you mean? What is there to explain? Do you mean just senses? Or you talk about like sex? Isn't that word like sexual? Sensuality. Or no, sensuality just means, yeah, very sensual. Sorry. Well, I was just talking about words and meanings, and here I am destroying the English language. When let's say Bill, let's say I disrobed sensually. No, sorry. Does that mean like sexual, or does that just mean what am I getting at? Like when something is sensual, it doesn't necessarily just mean very close to the senses, activating your senses. Colloquially, it just means sexually, right? Like something is like sexual. Like that was a sensual way you just ate that strawberry or something, right? Let's move on, please, folks. I'm in the weeds. I need help. Let me get out of here. Let's keep it moving. What are we talking about here? Let's keep it moving. Tourette's. Talk about Tourette's here. I just had a whole bout of Tourette's, maybe. But have you ever been to a Tourette syndrome convention? You ever been to a Tourette syndrome convention?
Jake from State Farm. Hi, Jack.
I'm Luke.
Hi, Liv.
We all have Tourette's?
But we all...
Oh, geez. Why did... Stop. Play.
I'm Baylin. Nice to meet you. Jake from State Farm. Hi, Jack.
I'm Luke.
Hi, Liv.
We all have Tourette's?
But we all have Tourette's.
We are a family. I have a coughing tick.
You have a vagina.
Sorry, they're going to... Oh, by the way, we're talking about Tourette's here. They have a medical condition, so they're allowed to swear. I read somewhere I read somewhere they may even be allowed, like it's kind of allowed on even TV or something, because it's like a medical condition. Oof, so sorry I don't have this bleeped. You might hear some colorful words, but they have Tourette syndrome, so it's okay.
Hi, Liv. We all have Tourette's? But we all have Tourette's.
We are a family. I have a coughing tick.
You have a vagina. Oof, sorry.
I love that.
I didn't realize that I had Tourettic OCD, where like I have to do things like a certain amount of times or like something bad will happen. I was diagnosed when I was 7, and my dad,
Who gave her a cup of, who gave her a drink?
I literally said
she has Tourette's.
Wanted it. Like, here, do you need more napkins? We can get more napkins.
This is safe space.
Harold's got a hammer.
Oh, okay, it's a safe space.
I have a gun.
Wow, having Tourette's is interesting.
Okay, everyone, we'd like to get started, so please take your seat.
She seems normal.
First, I want to welcome everyone to TickCon 20.
This whole thing is devolving into chaos. Are you taking this in? There's too much Tourette's in one ear, in one room.
2024. Today, this panel will focus on lessons learned from living with Tourette syndrome in the public eye. Our panelists, 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎, Advocate, and A.D. Smith, who is our TAA Global Ambassador, Mr. Peter Antica.
Hey, excuse me. Hey, can you quiet down? Can you imagine? Can you imagine, Bill? She turns around to that Tourette's girl. She's like, "Shh, can you quiet down? I'm doing the intro right now. I'm trying to intro people."
Director and stunt coordinator, and Quincy Roche, linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings, and TS Advocate.
Body built like
he's
a linebacker. Take a picture, it'll last longer.
I agree, it will last longer. Thank you, baby.
Don't react to the Tourette's. That's just insanity, right? That's not her. There's the director of this thing reacting to the Tourette's, talking to the Tourette's like it's real. Is that what's happening here? Because she's having a little Tourette's moment. She's saying, built like a linebacker. Take a picture. She's responding to the devil. She's responding to the demons. Don't talk to the demons. Don't feed the demons.
Longer. Thank you, baby.
Jeez. Okay, so Tourette's convention looks fun. Tourette's convention. It's it looks like a fun time. Definitely looks interesting. I came across this video. I couldn't help but, learn a little bit about Tourette's. I had always seen it around over the years, every now and again. I mean, when I first saw it, it was a viral video on the internet. And this may have even been before YouTube. But this was going around. You guys remember the Tourette's guy? The Tourette's guy. The Tourette's guy was, oh, you know what? In fact, it may have been on YouTube. But it was a series of, it was like a comedy series on the internet. And it was an individual, and I can't remember. I think it was all a parody. He never really had Tourette's. But the Tourette's guy, anybody knows OG YouTube, OG internet. He was you might remember this guy. And I'm not going to play the video because it's basically all swearing. But you guys remember this guy? The Tourette's guy. And he'd be like taking calls and just swearing, like just losing it at the best moments. Lowbrow? I don't know. I laughed. I thought it was hilarious back in the day. And that was my first introduction to Tourette's, the Tourette's syndrome. Okay? Tourette's syndrome first identified in, come on, tell me the year. Tourette's syndrome first identified and described in 1885 by Dr. Georges de la Tourette. And I'm going to get to calls after this. Thank you so much. 888-775-3773. Georges de la Tourette, French neurologist, documented the condition in a paper titled The Study of a Nervous Affliction. He described 9 patients who exhibited involuntary movements, which are called tics, and vocal outbursts, vocal tics. So Tourette's is described as someone who has this syndrome, and it exhibits these tics, sometimes physical, sometimes vocal, sometimes both. And I've seen all sorts of examples. There are a lot of facial, just like movements of the face, movements of the body, just little like movements. So at the time, and for many years, Tourette's was considered a purely psychological condition. And that's how it was treated. That's how it was thought of. Purely psychological. There was a shift away from psychological theories when doctors tried treating people with Tourette's with dopamine blocking drugs in the 1970s. So they started giving them stuff like haloperidol, and it's a dopamine blocking drug. And what they found is that in patients with Tourette's treated with this dopamine blocking drug, their symptoms either, totally lessened, went away in some cases, but it was a clear link. For many, it was clear evidence and a strong evidence to support a physical link to Tourette's, that there was something physically wrong with their body. So with their and so that was a link between something physical, right? Scans of brains in people with Tourette's found that people had really active parts of their brains. Their brains lit up in ways that people without Tourette's or people who weren't diagnosed with Tourette's, their brains didn't light up like that. So these are some of the things that changed in the thinking of Tourette's over time. And some of these, for some, present strong evidence there's a physical, neurological condition as opposed to purely psychological one, okay? And, I'll say this. I'm no expert, and it's not like I know. I'm not an expert, it's like I know, but I see people with like their face movement. I sometimes feel my face. Like, it's not common. Maybe I have Tourette's, I don't know. But hasn't your face twitched? Like, you know what I mean? Like, can you somewhere relate to a twitch, an involuntary twitch? Can you at least relate that, okay, physiologically, there seems to be at least the possibility of involuntary twitching. So you can gather how, in some way, shape, or form, physiologically, these people with these little tics, I don't think they're it's quite likely that it's true. Not that anyone is saying it's not true. It's like no one has said it's a lie so far, Nick. But you know, I think it's. I'd say for some, like for example, this guy. Like for example, this guy over here, the black guy.
TAA Global Ambassador.
Look at the black guys, like little ticks, and even all the guys here, the 3 guys here on this panel. She's going nuts here. She's like, woo, woo. But even this guy over here, just like that nose thing, like you could totally see how it can be whatever, even a physical disorder. This could be psychological, but you could see the possibilities, right? Now, let's take a moment here to examine this girl here on the right. The most vocal one here. She's an interesting character. Her name is 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒂𝒎, and this is not the first time she's been on camera.
Oh,
in fact, you may have seen this. I feel like I saw this some time ago. It wasn't that long ago. She's described as a TikTok star. 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒂𝒎 suffers from Tourette's, and she famously told Chris Cuomo to F off. And it was just a funny little joke. It was on News Nation. Am I to gather it's okay to swear on TV? Is this even TV? If you have Tourette's. But here's the exchange, and she does swear. But she has a medical condition, so it's okay. Cover your ears, kids.
Me asking me, oh, my son's coming home with a girlfriend, and his girlfriend has Tourette syndrome. So, and then I also get very evil people that would comment and say, like, go fuck yourself, Chris. Lick your baby weenie, blam up your ass, butter your own biscuit, fat ass. That have told me that my parents deserved to die in a car accident.
That was Tourette's, right?
Because I'm faking my condition, or people have told me that, like, I've had to have the police at my house because people gave out my location and said they were going to come torch my house. Like, it's crazy.
Here's the thing.
That's her. A victim of Tourette's. That is 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒂𝒎, TikTok star known for her Tourette's on TikTok. It's part of her whole thing. It's how she became a name. Do you remember Sweet Anita? Thanks, Birdie Bound Brian. Appreciate it. I was trying to remember this name, actually. You remember Sweet Anita? We talked about her, I think, a long time ago at this point. She was like a Twitch like streamer. Is she even around anymore? But she was one of these streamers with Tourette's.
One of my grandmas.
Oops. You remember her? Sweet Anita. And she just
used
swear.
To ride a motorcycle to church in a disco dress. People come into chat and they're like, you have to get married sometime soon.
I don't even know what she's talking about here. I don't care. But I was trying to just get some examples of her Tourette's. But you remember Sweet Anita? Tourette's.
Right. Ask me fucking...
Oh, geez. Okay, so yeah, she's going to swear it's Tourette's. But that was her thing. You remember? She would just be gaming, and she would just suddenly have bouts of Tourette's where she would swear, and she would say what all the boys in the chat, just coincidentally, what the boys in the chat wanted to hear. It was always quite sexual. She's like, oh, do me like this. Oh, sorry, that was my Tourette's. Huh. But anyways, that's just a terrible medical condition. And I'm sure she has to battle with it. Look, I find us a little bit interesting about Tourette's. I found it's just an interesting thing how I bet you a lot of people are already thinking, and I can't confirm, I really don't know, but that someone like this girl here on the left, that someone like Sweet Anita, you could take it how a bunch of these are probably not psychological or you could probably gather how a bunch of these are probably not physical Tourette's, but merely psychological Tourette's, if I may. And I'm not a doctor, but there is some like opposing theories to the physical the physical source of Tourette's. There are some medical theories. They say there's some evidence to suggest that in like almost half of patients with Tourette's, when you give them these dopamine blocking drugs, they don't do anything. So what is that? Does that mean that the thinking on dopamine being a huge part of Tourette's, is it overblown? Is it that a lot of these people, or is it that all these people that aren't helped by the drug they are only exhibiting psychological Tourette's, or basically lying, basically making it up? Not that I would claim anybody we've talked about so far is making it up, but if you remember, I told you guys some time ago now, this concept in psychology, when people merely read about a syndrome or a disease or illness, people will start exhibiting those symptoms merely from reading about this or that so-called syndrome or problem. And if, we spent so many episodes talking about the mind, how crazy the mind is. We spent a great call there with Terry and my thoughts, my opinion on how deep feelings go, and how so many things that people call themselves, like being gay, being I don't know, maybe even autism, maybe even Tourette's, is nothing more than a thought. And a little bit more malicious than that. Beyond just a thought, some people just they like the attention and just literally hamming it up for attention. Some people maybe even have physical Tourette's, but they ham it up. There's this whole thing on TikTok, it's a trend about going nonverbal. And there's basically a whole subset of people with ADHD and ADD who suddenly out of nowhere go nonverbal. And they're on TikTok and they have these, and they go to the doctor, and the doctors give them this iPad which lets them speak to people in the world. But this person is like, they were talking just fine 2 weeks ago, and they'll say things like, my goal is not to talk again, but just to communicate with people. And it's like, is there anything about this that is health, science, medicine, helping people at all? Like, I don't see it. So anyways, I'm just messing around. Look at the OMG, look at the time, alias name. What do y'all think? Is some of this Tourette stuff just the mind? Or even a little bit more malicious than that? She hamming it up here. Did Ɓaylin Dupree play a prank over on Chris Cuomo? I don't know. I'll tell you this. The mind is a crazy thing, and you could believe also. Be careful what you believe. I'll tell you that. Be careful what you believe. All right, y'all, I'm out. That's the show. I appreciate all the calls and the super chats, but that's it. I'll see you tomorrow for Friday. One more day. I'll see you after the Fallen State tomorrow. American Anchor Baby tomorrow. So, yeah, take care. I'm out. Much appreciated as always. All the let me check real quick any supporters and super chats. Steez with the super chat says, are we calling undisciplined thoughts involuntary? Shout out. Let me think about that before I just... Here's a super chatter here with a question. Are we calling undisciplined thoughts involuntary? Well, what's an undisciplined thought? Stiz, I'm sorry. I feel like I may frustrate people, like, answer the question, but it's like, do you realize what you asked me? What the heck is an undisciplined thought? I'm really ignorant too, so please. I really just don't know many things. So maybe we can have more of a conversation, Stiz or Steez. Because I don't know what you mean. What's an undisciplined thought? What would be a disciplined thought? It seems like all thoughts are involuntary. Wait, hold on. Wait. I'm leaving that one as an I don't know, folks. All right, y'all. I do appreciate everything. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow after the Fallen State. Take care. See you tomorrow. Oh, Lil Nick, too. He's got to say bye. Bye.